You and I both know that life doesn't respond to how smart we are, how talented we are, or even how much we know. It responds to our state. Think about it. When you're in a peak state, everything changes. You think differently, you act differently, you make decisions with certainty, you follow through with confidence. But when you're in a disempowered state, the same opportunities can be right in front of you and you'll miss them. Why? Because your mind, your emotions, and your physiology are not aligned. That's where priming comes in. Priming is about conditioning yourself, body, mind, and spirit before the world ever gets a chance to condition you. Too many people wake up and immediately let life hijack them. They check their phone, they see the news, they see a message from their boss, they scroll through social media, and instantly they're reactive. They're no longer in charge of how they feel. They're responding to everyone else's agenda. But when you prime, you decide your state before the world decides it for you. It's like taking control of the steering wheel of your own brain and saying, I'm driving today. I'm not letting circumstances push me around. So let's do this together. Imagine starting every day with energy, focus, gratitude, and strength. That's not something you hope for. It's something you create. First step, move your body, change your breath, change your motion, and your emotions will shift instantly. Stand tall, breathe deep, shake off the old energy. Physiology is the fastest way to change psychology. Second step, gratitude. When you flood your mind with appreciation, fear disappears, anger disappears, stress dissolves. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time. It's impossible. So close your eyes and think of 3 moments you are deeply grateful for, big or small. Feel them, don't just think them. Relive them as if they're happening now. Third step, focus on what you want to create. See it in your mind. See the outcomes, the victories, the breakthroughs. Not in some vague someday way, but in vivid detail. Picture it, feel it, claim it as if it's already yours. Because the brain doesn't know the difference between something you vividly imagine and something you actually experience. And finally, breathe life into your purpose. Say to yourself with power, this is my day. This is my time. I decide how I show up. I decide who I am. Speak it with strength because the words you say condition the world you experience. If you prime your mind and body every morning, even just 10 minutes, you'll notice something extraordinary. Opportunities appear. People respond to you differently. Problems don't shrink, but you grow so much bigger than your problems that they no longer control you. This is not hype. This is not motivation. It's training. It's wiring your nervous system for success. It's setting yourself up to win before the game even begins. So here's the choice. Will you let the world dictate your state every day, or will you prime yourself to be unstoppable? Stand tall, breathe deep, and decide right now, this is who I am, this is how I live, this is how I show up. State is everything, and the quality of your life is the quality of your state. Think about it for a moment. Every decision you've ever made in your life was not just a product of information or logic. It was a reflection of the emotional state you were in at that exact moment. When you were confident, strong, and certain, you took bold action. When you were fearful, doubtful, or uncertain, you hesitated or you backed away. It wasn't the circumstances that determined your outcome. It was the state you were in when you encountered those circumstances. That is why priming matters so much, because if you wait for life to dictate your state, you're at the mercy of chance. One text message, one phone call, one glance at the news can shift your emotions, and suddenly you're not in control anymore. You're reacting instead of leading. But when you understand that your state is the master key, you realize you don't have to live that way. You can choose to take command before the world ever has a chance to touch you. Imagine 2 different mornings. In one version, you wake up groggy, check your phone, see something that frustrates you, and drag yourself out of bed already stressed. You carry that state into your work, your family interactions, your decisions. You're behind the curve before the day even begins. In the other version, you wake up, you take a few minutes to prime your body and your mind, you breathe deeply, you move your body with power, you focus on gratitude, you visualize what you want to create, you lock in a peak state before you've even opened your email. Which version of you do you think shows up differently? Which version leads instead of reacts? Which version attracts opportunities, inspires others, and handles challenges with strength? That's the difference state makes. Same person, same circumstances, 2 completely different outcomes because of one factor, state. When you look at people who achieve extraordinary things, it's not that they never face problems. It's not that they have more hours in the day. It's not even that they're smarter. It's that they manage their state with absolute precision. They've trained themselves to step into a powerful emotional state at will. While others are waiting to feel ready, they generate the readiness. While others are hoping for motivation, they create the drive. This is not about waiting, it's about conditioning. And once you see that state is the source of everything, your energy, your clarity, your resourcefulness, you stop leaving it up to chance. The truth is, most people live like emotional pinballs. They bounce from one external event to another, letting the outside world determine whether they feel joy, frustration, or stress. If traffic is light, they're happy. If it's heavy, they're miserable. If their boss smiles, they feel good. If their boss frowns, they feel bad. They've handed over the keys to their emotional life to everyone and everything around them. That's why so many people feel stuck, because they've never learned that their state is not something they endure, it's something they create. And once you understand that, you stop being a slave to circumstances and you become the architect of your experience. Think of state as the lens through which you see the world. If your state is disempowered, every problem looks bigger, every opportunity looks smaller. If your state is empowered, the same problem looks solvable, the same opportunity looks massive. Nothing outside has changed, only the state you're in. It's like putting on a different set of glasses. One pair makes everything look dark and hopeless. Another pair makes everything look bright and possible. The external world hasn't shifted at all, but your perception has, and perception drives action. That's why some people crumble under pressure while others thrive. The difference isn't in the pressure, it's in the state they bring to it. If you've ever had a day where everything seemed to flow, where you were sharp, resourceful, creative, and unstoppable, you've experienced the power of being in a peak state. Ideas came quickly, conversations went smoothly, solutions appeared where there once seemed to be none. That wasn't luck, that was state. On the other hand, if you've ever had a day where nothing went right, where you were frustrated, confused, and unproductive, that wasn't bad luck, that was also state. Same person, same brain, different emotional conditioning, different results. Once you realize that, you stop asking, why is today so hard? And instead ask, what state am I in right now, and how can I shift it? Priming is the way you take control of this process deliberately. Instead of hoping for a good day, you generate the state that creates a good day. And when you commit to it daily, it becomes automatic. It's like training a muscle. At first, you consciously focus on it, but over time, your nervous system adapts and it becomes your default. You stop waking up in reaction and start waking up in creation. You stop waiting for circumstances to give you permission to feel powerful, and instead you step into that power on demand. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. The mistake people make is thinking that state is something that just happens. They wait until they feel like it before they act, not realizing that action is what creates the feeling. Move your body with intensity, your state changes. Breathe differently, your state changes. Focus differently, your state changes. Say something with conviction, your state changes. It's not complicated, it's conditioning. The reason athletes, performers, and leaders prime themselves before stepping on the field, the stage, or into a negotiation is because they know the world doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you're prepared for. And the best preparation isn't just strategy, it's state. Strategy without state is useless. In a weak state, even the best strategy will fail. In a powerful state, even a shaky plan can succeed because you bring the energy and resilience to adapt and overcome. So when I say state is everything, it's not just a catchy phrase, it's the truth that runs underneath every result in your life. You don't get what you're capable of, you get what you're willing to step into in the moment. And what you step into is determined by the state you choose to live in consistently. Physiology first, because before the mind shifts, the body must shift. You cannot sit slouched, shallow breathing with your head down and expect to feel powerful, certain, or alive. The body is the foundation of your emotional state. And when you understand that, you stop waiting for thoughts to change first and instead command the shift with motion. Think about it. Every emotion you've ever felt had a corresponding physiology. Confidence has a posture. It has a breath. It has a tone. Fear has a posture. It has a breath. It has a tone. You can spot someone's state just by looking at the way they move, the way they carry themselves, the way they breathe. If you can recognize that, then you can also reverse engineer it. If a weak physiology produces a weak state, then a strong physiology can produce a strong state, and it can happen instantly. People often believe they have to think positive or wait until the right feeling comes before they act, but the truth is the fastest way to change the mind is to change the body. Try being depressed while standing tall with your shoulders back, breathing deeply, and moving with intensity. Try being fearful while clapping your hands, jumping in place, shouting with strength, and filling your lungs with oxygen. The mind will fight to follow the body because your nervous system is wired that way. This is why athletes jump, scream, and pump themselves up before competition. This is why soldiers train with drills that condition their bodies to respond before the brain even has time to think. They're not waiting to feel ready. They're programming readiness into their physiology. Consider how most people start their day. They roll out of bed sluggishly, drag themselves into the bathroom, scroll on their phone, and move like they're half asleep. That sluggish physiology locks in a sluggish state, and they wonder why they feel unmotivated. They didn't wake up unmotivated. They woke up without priming their body for energy. Imagine instead jumping out of bed, moving your arms, filling your chest with breath, doing push-ups, bouncing, stretching with strength. In 2 minutes, the body floods with oxygen, the blood pumps, the hormones shift, and suddenly your state is completely different. Nothing outside changed, but the physiology told the brain, we're alive, we're ready, we're strong. That's the difference between a day where you crawl through and a day where you dominate. The truth is, your physiology is the most underutilized tool you have. Most people use their body unconsciously, not realizing every slump, every sigh, every shallow breath is programming their brain into weakness. But once you become conscious of it, you can flip the switch whenever you want. Shoulders back, head up, breath deep, move with energy, and watch how your state shifts in seconds. It's not theory, it's science. Studies show that posture alone alters hormone levels, confidence, and mood. A power stance literally raises testosterone and lowers cortisol, which means you become more decisive and less stressed. Just by the way you stand, if something that small can shift your state, imagine what deliberate, powerful movement can do. Every culture throughout history has used physiology to create state. Chanting, dancing, drumming, breathing, shouting, rituals, all of them are physical tools to condition emotion. Look at a celebration. People move their bodies, clap, sing, lift their arms. Look at grief. People collapse, curl inward, breathe shallow. The body speaks before the mind. When you learn to use this consciously, you stop being a slave to unconscious patterns and start using your physiology as a weapon. Think of times you were unstoppable. Chances are you weren't sitting still with your hands folded and breathing lightly. You were moving, speaking with power. Your chest was open. Your breath was strong. Your physiology told your nervous system, we are in control. We are certain we are alive. Now think of times you felt defeated. Your body collapsed. Your head dropped. Your energy drained. The physiology created the emotion. Same human, different body language, different state, different results. That's how much power physiology carries. It doesn't take hours to shift either. In seconds, you can use breath work, movement, posture, and intensity to break out of any negative state. You can be frustrated, angry, fearful, and with a few minutes of priming your body, everything changes. Your brain begins to rewire, your emotions reset, your focus sharpens. It's like rebooting a computer. You don't need to wait for circumstances to shift. You reboot your physiology, and the state follows automatically. There's a reason why high performers, whether in sports, business, or art, never enter their arena without priming their physiology. They warm up, they stretch, they breathe, they move with purpose. That ritual isn't just about physical readiness, it's about emotional readiness. It's telling the brain and body, we're entering peak state, let's go. The average person skips this and pays the price, wandering into challenges without energy, without clarity, without power. And then they wonder why life feels heavy. It's not life, it's their physiology that's heavy. When you master physiology, you gain the ability to command your state on demand. You're no longer a victim of how you woke up, how the day started, or what external events occur. You can interrupt patterns of fear, stress, and doubt instantly by shifting your breath, your movement, your focus. Instead of spiraling down into negative states, you spiral up into powerful ones that control compounds daily. Do it once, you change a moment. Do it daily, you change your life. If someone is depressed, their body tells the story, slouch, shallow breathing, slow movements. If someone is excited, their body tells the story, upright, energized, moving quickly. You don't have to wait for the story to change. You can rewrite it through physiology. Stand differently, breathe differently, move differently, and your mind will be forced to follow. This is not pretending, it's programming. Your nervous system doesn't ask if it's real. It simply responds to the signals your body gives it. That means you have the power to trick your brain into resourcefulness, into courage, into strength, simply by commanding your body to act as if it's already there. The most successful people in the world know this secret, whether consciously or intuitively. They don't let their body slump into weakness. They walk with purpose, they gesture with conviction, they breathe with power. That physiology reinforces their belief and their state, and the cycle compounds. Success becomes not just what they do, but how they show up, how they carry themselves, how they prime their physiology. Before anything else, gratitude kills fear, because you cannot be fearful, angry, stressed, or resentful in the same moment that you are truly and deeply grateful. The two emotions cannot coexist in the nervous system. Gratitude dissolves the poison of negative emotion the way light erases darkness. If you walk into a dark room and flip on the light, the darkness doesn't fight, it doesn't linger, it simply disappears. That is what gratitude does to fear and anger. Most people don't realize how powerful this is because they treat gratitude like a polite exercise, something you list at Thanksgiving or something you jot down in a journal without feeling. But real gratitude is not intellectual, it is emotional. It's when you close your eyes and relive a moment so vividly that your whole body feels it again. It's when you flood your nervous system with appreciation so strong that it leaves no room for anything else. Think about how you feel when you're stressed. Your body tightens, your breath shortens, your mind races. Now think of a time you felt truly grateful, when you looked at someone you loved, or when you achieved something you once thought impossible, or when you simply felt alive and blessed in a moment of simplicity. In that instant, your body relaxed, your heart opened. Your focus shifted from what was missing to what was present. Fear lives in the future, anger lives in the past, but gratitude anchors you in the present moment. And when you are fully in the present, fear and anger cannot survive. This is why gratitude is not just a nice idea, it is a weapon. It is a tool to shift state instantly. You can be drowning in anxiety, and in 60 seconds of full gratitude, your state can transform. Because gratitude changes your focus. Instead of obsessing over what you don't have, what might go wrong, or what someone did to you, you focus on what's already here, what's already working, what you already treasure. And the brain cannot hold those two patterns at once. Try being angry at someone while vividly remembering a time they gave you love, support, or kindness. The anger breaks. Try being fearful while fully reliving a moment of strength and triumph. The fear dissolves. The brain is not built to hold both emotions simultaneously, so whichever one you feed wins. Gratitude is not about ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about giving yourself the emotional fuel to face problems with strength instead of weakness. If you're grateful, you become resourceful. If you're grateful, you see solutions you couldn't see when you were locked in fear. If you're grateful, you connect with people instead of pushing them away. The most resilient people in the world are not those without challenges, but those who have conditioned gratitude so deeply that nothing can steal their sense of perspective. Every morning, if you prime yourself with gratitude, you inoculate your nervous system against stress and fear. You build emotional armor before the day begins, because life will throw things at you. There will be uncertainty, there will be setbacks, there will be moments where fear tries to creep in. But if you've already filled yourself with gratitude, those challenges don't crush you. You meet them with a different lens. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you say, "How is this happening for me?" That shift comes only when you've trained yourself to live in appreciation. When you look at the happiest people, the people with the most joy, it is not always the ones with the most resources, the most money, or the easiest lives. In fact, some of the most grateful people are those who have faced the hardest circumstances. Why? Because they've learned that gratitude is not about conditions, it's about decisions. You don't need everything to go right to be grateful. You can be grateful for the smallest things, the breath in your lungs, the warmth of the sun, the smile of a stranger, the fact that you are alive in this moment. And when you make that your habit, life feels abundant even when circumstances are scarce. The brain is wired with a survival bias. It's designed to look for what's wrong, what could hurt us, what's missing. That's why fear and stress come so easily. But gratitude rewires the brain. Neuroscience shows that practicing gratitude daily strengthens the circuits for joy, resilience, and calm. You literally change the structure of your brain when you practice gratitude with emotion. It's like building a muscle. At first, it takes effort. Over time, it becomes natural. Eventually, your default shifts from scarcity to abundance, from fear to appreciation. That is when life changes, not because the outside world suddenly transformed, but because your internal world did. Think about relationships. When you focus on what's missing in a partner, you'll always feel frustration. When you focus on what you appreciate, you feel love. It's just the same person, the same relationship, but the lens of gratitude changes everything. Gratitude keeps love alive because it reminds you of the gifts you already have instead of the flaws you wish weren't there. Fear kills relationships. Resentment kills connection, but gratitude breathes life back into them. Think about business. A leader who is grateful for their team inspires them to grow, while a leader who only focuses on mistakes creates fear and disengagement. A professional who is grateful for opportunities will seize them with energy, while one who only fears failure will hesitate and miss them. Gratitude doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how you act, and those actions ripple into every area of life. It's not enough to just think gratitude, you must feel it. Words without emotion are empty. You have to stop, breathe, close your eyes, and relive those moments until you feel them in your chest, until your body softens, until your heart opens, until your focus shifts completely. That's when gratitude kills fear, not as an idea, but as an experience. When you practice that daily, you build a shield. Fear may knock, but gratitude refuses to let it in. The power of gratitude is that it connects you to something larger than yourself. When you're grateful, you realize you are supported, you are guided, you are alive in a world full of gifts. Fear makes you small, gratitude makes you expansive. Fear says, what if I lose? Gratitude says, look at what I've already gained. Fear says, I am not enough. Gratitude says, I already have enough. And when you live in that truth, your life is no longer about surviving. It becomes about living fully, giving fully, and showing up with courage no matter what comes your way. Focus creates reality, because wherever your attention goes, your energy flows. And whatever you consistently focus on begins to shape your experience of the world. Two people can live through the exact same circumstances and yet create completely different lives because they focus on entirely different aspects of reality. One person focuses on what's missing, what's broken, what's painful, and they feel powerless. Another person focuses on what's possible, what's working, what can be created, and they feel empowered. Nothing external changed, only the lens of focus. That lens becomes reality, because your brain will filter everything to match it. The human brain has a filtering system called the reticular activating system. Its job is to take the millions of pieces of information around you and narrow them down to what you believe is important. If you decide that life is unfair, your mind will find endless evidence to support it. If you decide that life is abundant, your mind will find proof everywhere. Focus directs the filter. It doesn't matter what's happening outside, your brain will delete, distort, and generalize everything until it matches your dominant focus. That's why two people can walk into the same room and see completely different things. One sees problems, the other sees opportunities. One sees reasons to fear, the other sees reasons to act. What you consistently look for, you will find. When you focus on problems, they expand. They consume your mind, they drain your energy, and soon they seem bigger than they really are. But when you focus on solutions, your creativity activates, your resourcefulness kicks in, and suddenly what felt impossible becomes manageable. Focus is not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing which part of reality you give power to. Problems are real, but so are solutions. Pain is real, but so is strength. Lack is real, but so is abundance. Your experience depends on which side you focus on. Every achiever, every leader, every visionary has trained their focus. While the masses are distracted by noise, they lock their attention on a clear outcome. They see it, feel it, imagine it in vivid detail until it becomes more real than the obstacles in front of them. That focus guides their actions, their decisions, and their persistence. When the mind sees a clear picture of what it wants, the body follows. When the mind is scattered, the body hesitates. That's why people who know how to focus achieve things that seem impossible to others. They're not more talented, they're more directed. Visualization is a powerful extension of focus. When you vividly imagine the outcome you desire, your nervous system fires as if it's already happening. The brain doesn't fully distinguish between real experience and deeply imagined experience. This is why athletes mentally rehearse their performance. Why top performers walk through their success in their minds before they live it. They're not just daydreaming, they're wiring their brains to act in alignment with that vision. Focus creates a reality in the nervous system first, and that reality eventually shows up in the external world because the person acts with certainty instead of hesitation. Focus also determines emotion. If you focus on what you can't control, you'll feel helpless. If you focus on what you can control, you'll feel empowered. If you focus on what you've lost, you'll feel grief. If you focus on what you've gained, you'll feel gratitude. The circumstances don't dictate your feelings, your focus does. Someone can be in a situation where everything seems stacked against them, but if they focus on one thing they can influence, they feel momentum. Another person can be in the same situation and focus only on the unfairness, and they spiral downward. The power is not in the situation, it's in the focus. Distraction is the enemy of focus, and the modern world is full of it. Notification, social media, endless streams of information pulling attention in every direction. People wonder why they feel anxious, unfulfilled, and stuck. It's because their focus is fractured. They're giving their most precious resource, attention, to things that don't move them forward. Every time you focus on trivial things, you weaken your ability to focus on meaningful things. But when you train your focus, you reclaim power. You choose what deserves your attention and what doesn't. You decide which seeds to water, because whatever you water grows. Think about planting a seed in the soil. If you water it, nurture it, and give it sunlight, it grows into something strong. If you ignore it, it dies. Focus is the sunlight and water of your life. Wherever you direct it, growth happens. If you focus on problems, they grow. If you focus on opportunities, they grow. If you focus on fear, it expands. If you focus on courage, it expands. It's not magic. It's the simple truth of how the mind works. Focus is also contagious. What you focus on radiates into the people around you. If you focus on negativity, you spread negativity. If you focus on possibility, you inspire possibility. Leaders set the tone of focus for their teams. Parents set it for their children. Friends set it for each other. When you discipline your focus, you not only change your reality, you influence the reality of everyone connected to you. You have to train focus the same way you train a muscle. Meditation, visualization, goal setting, gratitude, all of these are practices of focus. They strengthen your ability to direct your mind where you choose instead of letting it wander aimlessly. Left untrained, focus will drift to fear, to problems, to distractions. Trained, it becomes a weapon. It cuts through noise. It locks onto vision. It makes what you want inevitable because you refuse to give energy to anything else. There's a reason why when you buy a new car, you suddenly see that model everywhere. It's not that more cars appeared. It's that your focus shifted. Your brain tuned in to that pattern. Life works the same way. If you focus on opportunities, you start seeing them everywhere. If you focus on abundance, you notice resources that were always there but previously invisible. If you focus on love, you find it in places you never noticed before. Your reality expands in the direction of your focus. When challenges come, the most important decision you make is what you choose to focus on. Will you focus on the size of the obstacle or the size of your potential? Will you focus on what you've lost or on what you can still create? Will you focus on what drains you or on what strengthens you? Each choice shapes the reality you experience. And the truth is, the external world is never as powerful as the internal world you build through focus. Training daily is the difference between temporary motivation and permanent transformation, because repetition is what wires habits into your nervous system. Most people treat personal growth like a one-time event. They listen to something inspiring, they get fired up for a moment, they take a little action, and then they fall back into their old patterns. Why? Because they never conditioned the change. They never repeated it until it became automatic. If you go to the gym once, you don't get strong. If you meditate once, you don't master your mind. If you practice gratitude once, you don't rewire your brain. Growth is not built in a moment. It's built in the rituals you repeat daily. What you do consistently is who you become, not what you do occasionally. Training daily means understanding that your state, your focus, and your physiology are like muscles. If you don't use them, they weaken. If you train them, they strengthen. Every day you condition yourself, you're carving a deeper groove in your nervous system. At first, it takes conscious effort, but over time it becomes second nature. You don't think about brushing your teeth because you've done it thousands of times. Imagine if priming your body, your mind, and your emotions became as automatic as brushing your teeth. Imagine if every morning without hesitation you dropped into gratitude, you energized your body, you focused on your vision. How different would your life feel after a week, a month, a year of that discipline? The mistake people make is thinking they need intensity without consistency. They wait for big breakthroughs, long sessions, massive effort once in a while. But intensity without consistency dies. Consistency with even small effort creates exponential change. 10 minutes a day of training your state will outperform 1 hour once a month. It's not about how long, it's about how often. Frequency beats intensity because frequency rewires the nervous system. It creates automaticity, and automaticity is freedom. When you no longer have to think about showing up powerfully because it's who you are, then you've crossed from temporary change into lasting transformation. Training daily also keeps you ahead of life's challenges. You don't practice resilience in the middle of a storm. You build it every day so when the storm comes, you're already strong. You don't practice courage in the middle of fear. You build it daily so that when fear knocks, you answer with certainty. You don't wait for life to test you to start training. You train every day so that when life does test you, you're ready. The boxer doesn't prepare for the fight on fight day. They prepare for months with daily discipline. Life is the same. Every day you skip training your state, you weaken your readiness. Every day you commit to it, you become more unshakable. The compound effect of daily training is staggering. 1 day of gratitude feels good. 30 days of gratitude rewires your brain to default to appreciation. 1 day of visualization sparks some motivation. 1 year of visualization programs your nervous system to act as if the vision is inevitable. One day of strong physiology gives you energy. A lifetime of it makes energy your baseline. The brain and body adapt to whatever you repeat most. If you repeat stress, worry, distraction, and weakness daily, that becomes your automatic state. If you repeat gratitude, strength, focus, and energy daily, that becomes your automatic state. The question isn't whether you're training daily, because you are. The real question is, what are you training yourself into? Every negative state is also the result of training. People who live in stress have trained stress into their system by repeating it daily. People who live in fear have trained fear into their system by focusing on it daily. People who live in procrastination have trained hesitation into their system by practicing it daily. Training is happening all the time, whether you realize it or not. The difference is whether you're training consciously or unconsciously. When you choose to train daily with intention, you seize control of the process. You stop being a victim of unconscious repetition and start being the architect of conscious repetition. Rituals create results. If you want extraordinary results, you need extraordinary rituals. But extraordinary doesn't mean complicated or long. It means consistent and intentional. 10 minutes of priming every morning is extraordinary if you do it every day. Writing down 3 things you're grateful for is extraordinary if you do it every day. Moving your body with power is extraordinary if you do it every day. Small disciplines compound into massive change, but only when repeated. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. Daily training is how you bridge that gap, because the days stack, the repetitions accumulate, and suddenly you are living in a completely different state without even realizing how much you've grown. Training daily also builds identity. The more you repeat something, the more you start to believe it's who you are. If you prime yourself daily to be strong, focused, and grateful, you begin to identify as a strong, focused, grateful person. Once something becomes part of your identity, you don't have to push yourself anymore. You don't try to be it. You just are it. That's the real power of repetition. Action leads to identity, and identity leads to automatic action. The cycle becomes self-sustaining, but only if you commit to training daily. Life doesn't reward the person who does something once. Life rewards the person who conditions themselves until the behavior, the focus, the state becomes permanent. Anyone can feel good for a moment. Anyone can get motivated for a weekend. The real difference is the person who commits to the daily grind of priming their mind and body until peak state is no longer a practice but a way of life. Daily training is how you stack small wins into unstoppable momentum. It's how you build emotional fitness so strong that no challenge can take it from you. It's how you transform not by accident, but by design, because you chose to repeat the habits that build power, energy, and resilience every single day